try to make it new. You can't fight it when it feels so true. You drive me crazy like no one else. The final moment before I lose myself. And it's no use working 9 to 5 if you want more than to stay alive. So come on over, we can make it through. Take my hand, I know just what to do. On the beat, keep dancing through the night. We stay up until the morning light, the morning light. Oh, so come on over, we can make it through. Take my hand, I know just what to do. On the beat, keep dancing through the night. We stay up until the morning light, the morning light. Oh, the morning light. Oh, I just wanna be your Superman. Come fly with me, just take my hand.
Just Us Girls. I am so excited for you. What joining us tonight is going to be great. We have a great program all lined up for you. Listen, get the cat, get the dog, get all of your furry friends and all that good stuff. Grab your pen, get your booklet. We are going in today. It's going to be good. We have so much fun. We have so much to tell you tonight. You are going to just love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so with us, we always have our crew. We have Dree, we have the Wanda. Hey, girls. And today, we have with us Amanda Tolve. She is a real estate agent. She is a professional. She knows the stuff. She knows the ins and the outs, and she is going to tell you what it is that you need to do. Trust me, by the time you're done, you're going to be ready to go buy a house. So listen, our topic today, is it a good time to purchase a property? Is it a good time to purchase a home? Listen, get comfortable, get the popcorn. Let's go. Let's dig in. Woo, it's going to be good. All right. So Amanda, welcome to Just Us Girls. And we have some questions for you today. Okay. Our audience is going to be so filled with information. And so without any further ado, first, I would like for you to introduce yourself to our wonderful audience. Tell them who you are and what you do and all that good stuff. And then we would like for you to answer this very first question. This first question, is it a seller's or is it a buyer's market? And what does that mean? All right. So introduce yourself to us. Tell us all the things that you do. And then if you can answer the very first question for us, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? And what does that mean? The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm happy to be here with you ladies. My name is Amanda Tolve, as you just said, and I work with Remax Select. I specialize in residential properties. So that could be, your personal home or a house that you're also investing in, but it's mostly residential. And it's in New Jersey. So I focus on Bergen, Essex, Passaic, but I also do a little bit of Morris and Hudson and the surrounding counties. So now let's dive into the first question, which is a great question because everyone asked that. So right now, we would say that it's a seller's market because the inventory is low and we have way more buyers than we do sellers. So the sellers have an advantage because they get to choose which offer they want to accept more than they did maybe, let's say, 2 years ago when you put an offer in on a home, then maybe they only got 1 or 2 offers. Now they're getting 10 or 15. So the seller really gets to be picky about who they're choosing to buy their home. Exactly. So it's definitely a seller's market. They have an advantage, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad time for buyers because on the other end, it's also great interest rates for buyers. So they have that advantage, but the selection is definitely less and it's better for the sellers.
You know what? I don't understand this, right? Mm-hmm. It's more, you said this is a seller's market. which means the sellers have the advantage and all that good stuff. But at the same time, you have where the interest rates are really good. You know, right now, what type of rates are we looking at, you know, just for starters?
So, I mean, the rates change every single day. So you have to
Right.
stay on top of your, with your lender to see what your rate is. You have to lock in your rate when it's good and low, but the rates are in the threes right now. And if the higher your credit score, the better your rate. So if you have an 800 and something credit score, you might be able to get into the twos for sure. And you have, your debt to credit ratio and all that stuff, all that counts as well. But if your credit is lower, even, I don't know, 650 or 680, you can probably still get the three in the threes.
Okay, so what would you say is there's someone looking to purchase a property and they figure, okay, my rate, okay, my the interest rates are really good. They're in the threes or what have you, average now, but my score is about maybe below, a little bit below, like a 680, or it's about a 640 or so in there. What rate, I mean, like you said, the rate will be a little bit higher or what the case is, but would it be good for them to purchase right now? What would you say to someone who has that type of credit score?
So as far as the credit scores, each lender is different with what credit score they'll take and what rate they'll give you. So you definitely, if your credit score is lower, you want to shop around with different lenders and see what they offer. Some of them will give you a loan at 620. Some will say, no way, you need 680 or more. But I would say, find out what exactly your rate would be, and then maybe wait till it goes down, because it's not just your credit score that's involved in choosing that rate. It's also your income, your debt to income ratio. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So I would definitely say before you start anything with the home shopping process, you talk with that lender and see where you're at, and see if he says, he or she says, let's wait, another 6 months until you have a little bit more employment history, or let's wait another year until something falls off your credit. And they can really give you the best idea of when it'll be a good time if you want the lower rate. But hey, right now, getting a 3.5 is not a crazy rate. So, next year it might be 5.5. So it might still be a good idea to just get that 3.5.
Okay, so before, I'm going to ask you one more question before I jump over to Drea and the one, their type of questions, right? So in terms of the seller, there's a lot of inventory out there, and the sellers get a chance to choose. Is that what's driving the not so much the value but the price? Because I've seen it where the house is listed for, let's just say 350. The house is listed for $350,000, and then you have like 8 or 9 offers. I don't know what the sellers will, how they determine how they would select that particular buyer, but they'll have bid like maybe $450,000 above the asking price, or what's the highest? First of all, what's the highest that you've seen that the sellers have selected? Like the houses are 350, and then you have all these bidding that's going in. What's the highest bid that you've seen where a seller has actually accepted the highest bid?
Well, that's a tricky question, because so I actually recently had a listing that was 350, sold for 375. But originally when I had it appraised at 350, but by the time I had the bank appraisal, it was appraised at 375. So, the prices, because everything is selling more, all the appraisals are now going up as well. So, yeah. So even though you're overpaying, there was another property in Nutley. It was listed for 400,000. We offered 450 and it appraised at 450. So the appraisals are actually working out, which is another advantage to buyers, because they're able to get the loans for the amount that they offered over. So the more the houses sell for higher prices in the area, when they do the appraisal and they compare the prices around them, now they're comparing it to higher prices. So now the value of that home is going up.
Oh,
like a domino effect.
Yeah, because I was concerned about that, because I'm like, okay, well, maybe the houses will not appraise for that much, and the bank's not going to be offering that much. So if you have a 350 and then you turn around and someone is offering let's say 400,000, and they do accept it, always don't go to praise, because then that's too much more, or like you talk about $50,000 more over asking price. So I never really understand that, but now I do. And thank you so much for clarity. You see, I tell you, this is good stuff today.
Yes.
People write these things down. Okay, so so Dree and Olawanda, jump in with your questions.
I just had, I had a question that was on my mind because, I know quite a few people that are definitely in this market are trying to buy homes. And some of the obstacles they ran into was some of the offers that were accepted were because they waived the inspection and the appraisal. So can you go into that a little bit more for me? Like, why, if I'm the buyer, like, why would I buy a house and I'm going to waive the inspection and the appraisal? And both of them are extremely important. So why would they waive that?
Because their realtor is not advising them correctly. No, I don't ever tell unless I know for sure that that house is going to appraise at, like, say the 350, I knew it was going to appraise at 375. And they offer 375, I would say, okay, waive it, because I know that it's going to appraise for that amount. But otherwise, that's not a very good idea, because what if, you offered 450 and it appraises at the 500, now you have to come up with that 50 grand because you promised that you were going to just waive the appraisal. So the waiving the appraisal means you're going to pay the difference of whatever it appraised at to what you offered. So that's not smart unless I've done my due diligence for my client and I've looked up the comps and I know what it's going to appraise for, and I feel safe telling them, okay, wait the appraisal. And the inspection, that is something else that it's very important. You should always have the inspection, but you can waive the repairs. That's okay. But always have the inspection, because what if it's something serious like mold or a foundation issue? Like, those are things that you need to be able to back out of the deal if you want to. But as far as just waiving an inspection, I don't ever recommend that. I think you should have it and then just say, you know what, I won't ask for any repairs. We'll fix them ourselves.
Right, because I know those two are both important. So I couldn't, just talking to them, this is not what I do, but just me, some stuff is just common sense to me. Like, I would not say, okay, waive the inspection, waive the appraisal, so, just thinking, I was just so curious and, and really had thought about that. And my other question was, when we were talking about the offers that were being made, only because I had some people that ended up where they had one place that put like 25 or 30 offers in, right? Mm-hmm. And then it came down to it that they didn't accept their offer, but what is it, so we kind of get an idea that would make them take one over the other? Is it because of the amount that was offered? Is it because the bank they know automatically that bank is approving it, they're not going through this? So what is it that would cause them to take one over the other?
Okay, so when you have, in this, we have multiple offers now, you have to put them all together or line them all up and look at a lot of different things. So first, you're going to look at the pre-approval letter that they have from the lender. You want to make sure that they're actually pre-approved for what they have. Then you're going to look at the down payment, see how much they're putting down. There's also if it's an FHA loan or a conventional loan. FHA loan is fine if the property is in shape and great, but if it's a house that needs work, there's a lot of restrictions with FHA, so you're going to want to go conventional. Then you're going to want to see if it's a cash deal. If it's a cash deal, you can close in a week. A loan takes about 45 days. So there's that as well. And there's just a lot of things that come into play, but it's not always the highest offer that wins, which is a misconception that a lot of people have. Because and it's just like what we were just talking about with the appraisals. So if I have a house listed for 400,000 and the guy says, well, I'm going to offer 500, but he doesn't waive the appraisal, what does that matter to me? Because if I know it's going to appraise at 400, I'll just pick one that's actually giving me the offer for 400. Or maybe there's somebody who will say, I'll give 10,000 over whatever it appraises. So there's like so many different factors that come into it, but it's not always the, highest offer that wins. It's the best offer, the most solid one, the most, it has to look good on paper, and you have to have proof of funds and proof of the loan. And then again, if cash comes in, the cash deal, Well, that
Right.
would.
Yeah, I would imagine that would work.
Yeah,
No matter
yeah.
how you know, I mean, who's
Yeah.
not going to take the cash?
Yeah. I mean, you can close in a
Especially
day.
if you can close right away. You know, if you can
Yeah.
close like within like a week or so, you know,
Within a
like you
week,
said, one of the things I had realized too was just maybe you probably can just kind of give me a little bit of clarity on that is on the FHA loan. The reason being is I find that when you're looking at some people that are selling homes that they're not even considering FHA. They will not even take FHA as the loan. They're not looking at that. What would cause them to not take the FHA loan?
So there's also a misconception with that because I've also been a title agent for 10 years. I know like the background work of everything. So FHA just means that, you know, you're putting 3.5% down. It's your first home. You're going to live there. But there's also a lot of restrictions. So like you have to have, you know, if the front steps don't have a railing, you have to install a railing. If there's paint chipped, and like this stuff might sound crazy, but if there's paint chipped around whatever, you have to paint it. I actually had a client in Clifton bought a house about 1.5 years ago before the pandemic. Was that 1.5 years ago? I think before the pandemic all happened. And they were still accepting FHA loans because it's fine. If the house is in good condition, it's great. It's, you know, you can still have the loan. The seller still gets the same amount of money. So they went and they painted all around the house so that the FHA, you know, would pass. But the buyers did that. But now that sellers can say, you know what, I'm going to completely avoid that. And I'm going to go with the person who's putting 20% down because I know for sure that they have the money and I know for sure their loan is solid. So it's more of seeing it on paper and knowing that, okay, this guy has 20% down. So I know that the loan is going to go through and we're not going to have any, you know, hiccups along the way. The deal's not going to fall apart. With FHA, even though these people are just doing it to get, you know, a lower, have more money in their pocket, I guess. But it just shows that they have less, or maybe they only qualified for that 3.5% down rather than 50%. So there's more flexibility with a conventional loan, and FHA has restrictions.
Right, I could understand that.
But if it's a brand new house, you know, there's no reason that they shouldn't take an FHA.
Right. I imagine it's brand new. I mean, what's really?
Yeah. I mean, hey, you never know though. Some houses you never know.
That's you know what's hidden. That's true. You never know what's hidden. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, we can't assume. That's true. We can't assume because we've seen some new houses have problems. I know people that are in new developments right now, and they've had problems a year later. It wasn't even, you know, so it's been less than a year and they have a problem with a new development. So, you know, now they're going back, you know, with the property owners and just going through so much stuff right now just to get things fixed. And it's only a year later. That's a problem when you paid so much for a brand new home and now a year later you're running into problems.
I actually have an example of that one too. Because you mentioned the inspections before too. So I had taken my clients to see a brand new, fully renovated home in Wayne, which is a common flood area. But this house was beautiful. I mean, you would never like think that anything was wrong with it. Everything was done. Everything was expensive, beautiful, whatever. And then we got the home inspection and the inspector pulled me aside and he's like, you can't let them buy this house. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's beautiful. And he's like, no, like the whole foundation was sinking. And like, he saw that because he's an inspector. So you would have to like, I guess, rebuild the whole bottom of the house and lift it. And it was just, so we got out of the deal. But like, that's why the inspections are very important because I can't see that, you know, as a regular person, maybe if you bring a contractor, but the inspector saw it and, you know, saved the clients from wasting all of that money.
So with that in mind, right, even if it's a new construction, you will still recommend you know, having the house inspected because of issues that, you know, of course it's brand new, it looks nice, that, you know, the builders should know that, you know, you're thinking that they're doing the right thing, they have the right plot of land or what have you. Wouldn't the builder know what they're building on?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a brand new construction, this one was like a flip, a renovation. So you still, you don't know how, you know, if they used copper for the electric or so, you know, that stuff, we don't know unless we're doing that, you know, every day like the inspector is. So, I mean, the builders, if they give you, I still wouldn't feel comfortable telling my client to not get an inspection. I would tell them to get it for information purposes only, if they want that. For the amount it costs to get an inspection, you know, I would just do that. You know, it's less than $1,000 depending on the size of the house. You know, on a smaller house, it's about $350. On a bigger house, it's about $750. But it's worth it because now you know what you're getting. You know, it's something I always recommend an inspection to my clients.
Okay. So I have Sorry, one more question, please. One more question, please. We're gonna drink. Okay, so what is, you were talking about 20%, you were talking about 3.5% for the FHA. But what would you consider as a good down payment?
Right in this market right now, people are looking at, and just because again, not everyone knows the knowledge of a loan and what it takes. A 5% loan can be just as good as a 20% down loan.
Okay.
But because again, the sellers have all these options, they're going to say, okay, I'm taking the 20% down because I know they have the money, rather than the person who was putting 5%, still a conventional loan, but only 5% down.
Money talks.
Money talks, yes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Because they want to be safe and they want to know the deal's going to close,
Exactly. Yeah, I can understand that definitely. And then just quick thing was, one of the things I thought about was, because I thought about when we had bought our home and how we had a really good inspector. He went through this place with a fine tooth comb. I mean, and there were some things that, he said, no, this needs to be done and it needs to go on the seller. The seller needs to fix it. No, I'm not going to we need to get these things done. And I'm glad that he was, because, all of those things were taken care of. They did everything, they did. So it worked out for us, but he said those inspections, I know they're so important. I don't take the inspections lightly. I don't take the inspectors, because you need them. You need to know what is in your home. What are you dealing with? So I just think that that's something that you really shouldn't just want to just throw to the side. You really, really need to consider it. Definitely.
Definitely. And in this current market, even though a lot of the times you're not going to get credits for, the inspection issues, or sometimes they won't fix it, it's at least what you're getting into. And if it's something that you're able, like if a window's broke, okay, I think we can deal with that, But if like I said before, if there's mold in the basement, that's not something you might be able to deal with. So
right.
It's important. But yeah, in this aggressive market, that's something else too. I mean, some of these agents are just putting it on their listings that, as is, no repairs, don't
right.
even.
Yeah.
That's not cool. We jump on in here. You have your questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, well, Amanda, so speaking of inspection, so even though that you have a brand new development, sometimes what I came to realize, because, I had a brand new development as well, but what I do realize sometimes is that the builder works along with their inspection person. And so when they're inspecting the place, you may not know that as a buyer. So they have their own person and they can say, yes, this is good, this is good, this is good. In fact, it's not so. So do you advise that you use their builder, the builder's inspection person, but do you advise getting your own inspection person just to make sure?
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I have inspectors that I work with, of course, and I give my clients their option to choose one of them if they don't know one, but I always tell them to pick their own. Yeah, pick your own inspector, because I mean, you can go on Google now and find anybody really, but I also have, a list of people that I've dealt with in the past that I give them to choose from as well. You never want to just say, like you said, use this one and that's it, because I don't know if they're on your side, if they're covering things up. So it's definitely good to pick your own. For sure.
Okay.
I like that, because when you're actually looking, this is a big investment. Purchasing a property, one of the largest investments that you'll do, if not the largest investment that you will do. And you don't want to be in your home, a year and a half later, and you find all these things, unstable foundation, because when you have an unstable foundation, you might as well just pack up and just get out of there, because then you're talking about, okay, your house is like sinking, and what are you going to do?
Right.
So it's seriously, because, and I don't understand, I really, really don't understand why some people will waive that. I really cannot fathom why some people would do that. I don't care how much of a seller's market it is, how much you want the house, care how much money you have. It's still always good to get it inspected, because you never know if termites is eating away at the house. You especially
That's
if it's
true.
an old property, you do not know what's behind everything else. Later on, they might determine that they might find something that it's like, well, what's going on here? well, I didn't see this before, because sometimes you're in a frame of mind that you want it so badly that you'll do everything that you possibly can to get it. And you're, going against that next person who, you're up against that next person. It's like, okay, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to put on as much money as I can. You omit this, you omit it. And the seller is not going to tell you no. The seller is not going to tell you no, because they are, right now, it's their advantage. They're going to get that house out. They want to get it off their hands. They want to move down to Florida. No disrespect to people in Florida, like over there in the corner over there, Dree. They want to move down. They want to retire. They don't care about anything. I'm going to sell my house in New Jersey. I'm going to move down to Florida, and I don't care what it is. I am just going to sell. But unfortunately, that person who's coming in, I'm thinking, you know what? Do your due diligence. Do whatever it is that you have to do, because even though you may have the money, later on, you never know what's going to happen in life. You do not know what emergency may arise. You do not know what health disaster may come upon you. You just do not know what will happen. And here you are stuck with termites eating away at your house, or the foundation is sinking, and you're like, oops, do I fix the house or do I deal with my health? I'm just putting it out there. So instead of this being, let me just get the word, instead of being so rushed to get what it is that you want, just use wisdom and, take what Amanda is saying to you today, get that inspection done, go through the process. Go through the process, and Amanda is going to tell you the process that you have to go through. Go through the process that's needed for you to purchase, so that when you finish, you can rest your head at night. Who wants to go to bed knowing that, oh, I have a leaky roof? Oops, if I had had that inspection, I would not have known that this is the problem. You bought it and it was a nice sunny day, and every time you go, the sun is shining.
And now the rain has come.
Yes.
And now you're finding out you need a pail because the rain is outside. Yes, it's raining today.
Look at homes.
You need to find out. Okay. Okay.
A good time. This is right. Look at that house to see if there's any leak in the roof.
Okay.
Isn't that something? You purchase the house in the summertime, and every time you go, the sun is always shining. It's a nice, beautiful day. Or you purchase the house. Right. Now, this is the thing too, Amanda. You purchase the house in the summertime, and so when winter time comes around now, you don't even know if the boy is working or not. Hence the inspection. So, Amanda, just give us some more wisdom and just reinforce what you just said to us about the inspection and the process of actually purchasing that property. It is so important. But Amanda is going to take it away. She's going to tell you what is the process of purchasing a property and really honing on the inspection and how important it is to have property inspected.
Right. So, I mean, the process of buying a home, it's kind of, you got to prepare first. So that's, the preparing part is really speaking to your lender to see what you qualify for. That's the number one thing you need to do, because they're going to give you what's called a pre-approval letter. And in order for me to start taking you out and showing you homes, you're going to need that pre-approval letter, because this says, okay, I spoke with the lender. I showed them all of my documents. They know exactly what I qualify for, and I qualify for this amount. So that's like the number one thing you have to do. Any realtor will tell you, I'm not shopping with this client until they have that pre-approval letter. Because if we do go shopping, and if you do like a home, when we submit an offer on that home, you need to have that pre-approval letter with the offer. Otherwise, the other agent's going to look at it and be like, this is no good to me. There's no proof that you can buy this. And then even backing up a little bit, when you get that pre-approval letter, when you're speaking to the lender, they can help you prepare for, if you say you only qualify for $350 right now, but the house you want is $550. They'll let you know, maybe you need to build your credit score up a little bit. Maybe you need to build your work history up a little bit. Maybe you need to pay down 2 credit cards. They'll let you know how long and what you specifically need to do to build up that, that loan amount so that you qualify for more. So the number one thing to do before you start anything is to talk to that lender, see what you qualify for, see if it's time right now for you to buy, or see if you should wait a little bit and qualify for more, and you want to get that pre-approval letter. And after you get the pre-approval letter, then you can come to me, the realtor. I mean, you can come to me before that too, because I'm going to tell you the whole process, obviously, and help you and hold your hand the whole way. Then we're going to start shopping for homes. And then once you find a home that you like, we submit an offer in. Again, this market is aggressive, so we might be submitting more than one offer in. You can't submit more than one at a time, but we might have to submit multiple offers on different properties. And then if that offer gets accepted, that's when it goes to the next step, which is attorney review. So the attorney review process is where, we submit give them the contract that's signed by the seller and the buyer. It should take about 3 days, but sometimes it takes longer if all parties are not, responding quick enough, or if things are not being negotiated as quick enough. Basically, attorney review is where the attorneys negotiate the contract and all the terms and make sure everything is clear. Whether you want to give the deposit in 10 days, or maybe the buyer can't close until they finish the sale of their home. Like, there's all kinds of different terms, but all of that gets put into attorney review. And once that's concluded, then you're officially under contract. So at this point, you can't really get out of the deal unless something crazy happens. But when you're under contract, that's when you order the inspection and the appraisal. The lender will order the appraisal and you will order your home inspection. I recommend doing the home inspection right away because, again, you want to find out if there's anything wrong, and this is your opportunity to get out of the deal if there is something crazy wrong. So you want to have the home inspection. I mean, now in this market, I have my people do it right away. Like, we have the home inspection immediately after, and then I have the lender order the appraisal immediately as well. So things move a lot quicker now because the market is just so aggressive. You want to move it along and make sure this deal is closing. So after the inspection comes back, usually, I mean, back in the day, you were able to negotiate, like we were just talking about, credits and stuff like that. Now you can get a credit, but you're not going to get as much, just because the sellers know, again, like, they can say no, and maybe they have like 10 other backup deals that they can accept. So it's a little bit harder to negotiate, but you can still get something, especially if it's reasonable, or something that's not going to allow you to pass like the CO inspection or something like that. So after you get through the inspections and you decide whether, you're going to get a credit or not get a credit, then we have to wait for the bank appraisal to come back, which is another huge one that's important because we have to see what the property appraised at. And again, that goes back to whether they waive the appraisal, or if they're just buying at the appraisal. Like, so if it under appraises, fine, the person walks away with equity. But if it over appraises, then the person's going to have to come up with money, or the seller can come down in price and negotiate. This is if they didn't waive anything. So that's where another negotiation might have to come in, is when the appraisal comes back. After the appraisal is all cleared up, that's when the mortgage commitment gets done after that. And then we're pretty much, I don't want to say smooth sailing because there's always stuff that comes up, but that's when we're pretty much, the ball is going to continue to roll until closing day. And then at closing, the day before the closing or the day of closing, you'll have a final walkthrough. So you get to walk through the property again and make sure that it's in the same, not with your inspector or anything, but you get to walk through and make sure it's in the same condition that it was when you got it inspected 45 days ago, 30 days ago, whenever it was. And then you'll have your closing. That's like a summary. It's a lot that goes on.
But that's good. I love that. But, I'm going to back up a little bit because it said something. And I think that I think there's some people probably need clarity on this, right? And I hope you guys right on your question, work history. And the reason why I'm going back on that, because, I know that there's something that Ray says that, like, so for instance, you just started a new job, maybe 6 months or so, but you're in the same line of work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, say for instance, you're in banking. Will that count towards a good work history, even though you're in the banking industry, you've been in the banking industry, as an example, for the past, maybe say, let's say 10 years, but then you just got a new job, maybe 6 months ago, and, of course, your income increases and you decide, you know what, I'm going to purchase a property. How would that look for work history?
Okay, so, and again, I'm not a lender, but speaking just from experience, if it has the same title, that counts. However, if you got a raise at this new job, they might not be able to count the raised price because you've only had that for 6 months. So it has to be like a 2-year work history. You have to prove that. And I know that there were some instances with COVID that if you had like a 2-month gap just from, whatever happened with your job with COVID that you couldn't go, they would you just have to give them a letter of explanation. But that's if you were at the same job and you can continue. But normally it's 2 years, but if you have the same title, yes, but the income, no. And I had a client once who had their income was for 2 years, but it was kind of low, but then they had a second job, but that second job was only for 6 months and they couldn't count it. So it has to be, because it was in the same field, but a different position. So she kind of did like overtime, but it was considered a second job. So they can't count that because it was only 6 months and it was a different job title.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
weird. Because, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, because
They're the lenders, so they can, that's them, because like we said, it falls back on the lenders. Because one of the things I thought about was, okay, because we talked about the pre-approval. So I just had, that pre-approval is so important because, and maybe through your experience, maybe you experienced this, Amanda, what happens when you really think the deal is really getting ready to go through, and here comes this stop because they could not prove something. Something was not being able to, because I know it happens. I'm sure it happens. At this much, I pretty much know that. I don't know whether you've experienced that, because you can have this customer who's excited about the deal. They really think this is close, and all of a sudden, the bank comes in and says, this customer cannot prove X, Y, and Z. So now what are we going to do? Because if they can't prove it, then you can't close that deal. They're not going to get the money. The bank is not going to finance that. So have you experienced that?
Yeah, I actually had, so now, like through that growing experience, I always talk to the lender directly. I tell my client, give me your lender's number because I need to talk to them, but I need to make sure everything's on track and whatever. Some people call that overstepping, but I need to, because I need to make sure that everything's going to run smoothly. But I had a deal that my clients we were a week before closing, and the lender said, I'm sorry, I can't do it, because he had something with a bankruptcy and like an open mortgage from a divorce. It was like all this stuff. But I'm like, why is this coming up now? So I literally had to take that whole deal and switch it to a whole new lender. I talked to like 5 different lenders, just trying to get anybody who would help me get this through, because they can all do different things in different situations.
Right.
So we had to move it over to a whole nother lender, and that lender got it closed for me, which was amazing. But sometimes it happens. But now and it's partially, the clients have to be fully honest about what's going on with their background. But this guy really wasn't this mortgage popped up that it was some kind of divorce issue where his ex-wife was living there, and she took over the mortgage. But it was like there was a recording issue. It was just a lot of stuff. But the one lender he's like, I just can't do it. I'm like, it's like, you could have figured that out earlier. I don't know why, I can't speak for them because I don't know why, but I switched it to an entire, new lender, and that guy was able to get it closed. So, but now I definitely I ask my clients all kinds of questions. Like, that's more of the lender's job, but just as like a, second opinion, I guess you could call it. I ask them, have you had any bankruptcies? How long have you been working at this job? Are you divorced, married? I mean, these are personal questions, but that's why you have to get to know your client as well, because you really need to know their situation so that you can help them. Yeah.
I like that, because I know that the underwriter have to do, their work, and they have to do all their, they do all the ins and outs. They ask for this and they ask you for that, that pay stuff like 15 times over. And and then they said, "Oh, there's a $2 deposit in the bank account. What is that?"
Yes,
I mean, they go through all these painstaking, issues with the clients. But then what I'm saying is, what I'm thinking of, even with that, situation, the underwriter should have seen this before, because when you pull the credit report, you see some things. You know what I mean? There's things that the underwriter will see that even the client sometimes is not even aware of. So why wait until the end? Towards the end, where this could have been avoided by saying something, maybe a month before, a few weeks before, but not so close to closing. And, like you're right, Amanda, it's a good thing that you're doing that with your clients, because that shows that you're taking that, that extra, and that shows me that you care about your clients, and making sure that your client, when you put that offer in, listen, I'm here to work for you. You're telling me straight off the bat, I am here. I'm on your side. I'm here to work for you. You trust me as much as I'm going to put my trust in you. For you unveil, you tell me, you speak to me, tell me what's going on. Because if you don't, I won't be able to help you. You know what I mean? So the more information you get up front, and the more information you know about your client, it'll be the better, the better the transaction will be, because you can go ahead and you can go to battle for that client like you did.
Mhm.
You know, so I commend you on that, because some people are like, okay, we can't do this deal, you know, we got to crash
Yeah,
it, we gotta have to do something else. And then when you have that rapport with your client and you build that good rapport with them, really good solid rapport, what happened is they're able to tell you now, because they feel free, you know, they feel open, they feel they can trust you, because they know, listen, you come highly recommended after what you did for Johnny. And if you can do that for Johnny, because word of mouth, that referral is solid. Because if you help me with my transaction, and you help me to get into this property, I'm going to tell my cousin, I'm going to tell my brother, I'm going to tell my neighbor, I'm going to tell my coworker that this person, Amanda Tolve, helped me. You need to speak to her. And this is what she did for me. No. You need to speak to Amanda. She'll get you through this. You know what I mean? What better compliment than that? Having that referral from a friend, from a neighbor. And so when you're honest and open with your realtor and you're able to tell them what's going on, then they can turn around and they can fight for you. I love that. Come on, tell us some more stories. Do you any more questions?
Well, yeah, you know what? So Amanda, I know that buying a home can be fun. It also can get overwhelming, because I know when I was going to purchase my home and going around with my real estate agent, I had to narrow it down like super quick, because I saw the first 3 homes and I was done. So it's exhausting. Although I love house hunting, I love it. I love HGTV. I love it, but it can also be overwhelming. And I know it must be overwhelming for you as an agent as well. So how long, on average, how long does it take normally for a buyer to, you know, buckle down and say, okay, this is the one? Do you get annoyed? You know, how does that work?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had experience with people looking a long time. I can't figure out if it's something I'm doing specifically, but I know that I take the time to really help, not so much like figure out what they need, but help them figure out what exactly they're looking for. Because if they're like, oh, I want to be in Morris County, but you know what, I mind living in Bergen County. Oh, but then maybe I'll go to Hudson. You have to like be like, okay, no, we're not going to run around to 10 different counties. You have to help them narrow it down so that they specifically know what they want. And I know, especially in this market, it can be exhausting, but I don't know. I've just had luck with, you know, I mean, I had this one client in Nutley, they were like brand new, like they didn't know what was going on. I helped them with the whole process, and we got them like in 10 days, we found a home for them, because I really took the time to sit with them and know exactly what they were looking for. And I kind of take the time too, if they are confused, show them three houses, but show them in those different areas. And then they're going to know immediately which one they like better, and they're able to compare. But yeah, it shouldn't take, like sometimes I hear people saying, oh, we're looking for a year. You shouldn't be looking for a year unless the client is just really not ready. But that's another question as a realtor. You need to make sure your clients are ready to buy, so you're not wasting your time either. Because, you know, you don't get paid until the deal closes. So you don't want to waste a year going around with these people and they really don't know what they want. You have to help them too. Like, that's my job, is to help them figure out if it is their time or if they want to wait a little bit. I have clients that, you know, I talk to them, they're like, you know what? Yeah, I think we're going to wait. So they'll wait 6 months, they'll call me, then we'll go find the house, you know, in a month, and we're ready to go. So you got to really like feel it out and make sure. But in this market, I totally understand the overwhelming thing, because I also had a client friend that got really overwhelmed because we were going to see all these houses and it was just so competitive. We were getting outbid. And then she said she was done with it and she wasn't going to look anymore. And then I talked to her husband and we got her to see one more house, and they got that house. So you got to like almost be their support system too, and help them not give up. And that we weren't really looking that long. I think it was only a month and a half, but it just gets, like you said, it gets draining because it's so competitive. And then everybody else, you know, talks about, oh, it's crazy out there, this and that. And they fill your head with all these ideas. And really that's, you know, I got to bring them back and be like, no, we can do this. You know, when you have the right house, or when we find the right house, it'll work out.
Oh, that's a good one, because I remember, you know, and I know of some people that they're still purchasing now. You know, even though they say it's a seller's market, it's a seller's market. You know, and I've been reading up on all this, just doing some research, and you know, I find that, oh my goodness, people are bidding like $50,000 over asking price. So which means now it's, you know, you have to either come out of, you know, pocket more and just try to see if you can get that one particular house. People are going further out to get the house that they really want, because they're like, oh, you know, if you go further out, you know, the better prices and all that good stuff. Now, I've seen where people, even in this market where it's a seller's market and where it's very competitive, people are still purchasing properties. So it lets me think, wait a minute, why is it that some people, maybe it's just a come out of conversation, why is it some people will discourage, or even in their conversation say, oh, this isn't a good time to buy because, you know, look at it, there's no properties out there and prices are high because, you know, they're asking for so much, and no, you gotta wait because, you know, it's better if you wait. And then you wait and you're like, oh my goodness, but then that person has got a house and they only had one other offer on the house, or sometimes no offers at all, and your offer was the first offer. What would you say to someone, like you said, would like say discourage the, you know, the sister or the brother or the cousin from purchasing a property now? And is this a good time to purchase? Is this time a good time to purchase? And what would you say to someone who is just discouraged, like you said to your client, because the sister is saying no, the brother is saying no, the auntie and the uncles and the cousins, they would say, no, you got to wait until, you know, the market settles down, or when it's a buyer's market. What would you say to that person? I want to know for real.
I would tell them to use me as their realtor, and I will find them a house. It really comes down to that.
That's what you need.
You have to do the work, you know, you have to, it's not impossible to get a house. It's not. And you don't have to overpay tremendously for these houses. And it might take a little more time maybe than they expected, but as long as you're able to run comps and figure out how much these houses are worth. I mean, yes, the market is crazy and aggressive right now, but there are still houses out there and there's still negotiation going on. So you can still work things out. I mean, I've still sold, or not, no, my listings have gone for over asking, but buyers, I've gotten them deals that are under the asking price. So it's still, you know, you have to know what you're looking at. How many days in the market has it been? Is it like a condo? Where is it? Where is it located? Mm-hmm. You have to know that stuff in order to get your client the best deal. So yeah, it can get overwhelming, but just, you know, take a breath and breathe, because you want the house that works for you. You don't want to just rush into, you know, overpay for something that's not meant for you. Maybe it was meant for that other person and they're comfortable overpaying for it, but every person's situation is different, and everybody needs a different specific house. So yeah, I think that just be patient.
Because sometimes the patience, you know, I'm thinking about patience, because I know about 2 or 3 people right now, Amanda, they've been looking about 6 months, if not long.
That's a long time.
And when I tell you, they are so frustrated, they're discouraged. They don't even want to look at another house. They're just so tired. They're just exhausted because they can't seem to understand why they cannot find the house. And why is it that every time they get ready to, it's just, they put the offer in, it doesn't work. And they're just to the point now that they're just frustrated and they're just tired. They don't even want to talk to anybody else anymore. That's just where they are. I'm like, oh my goodness. So trying to encourage them, you know, and it's hard.
Lawanda, they need to speak to Amanda.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I said. Exactly.
Yeah, 6 months is a long time.
That's a long time, man. That's so long. I'm like, you're still looking? I'm like, wait a minute. You know, and they're so discouraged. You know, they have everything ready. You know, they've been going back and forth with the bank. So they're okay with that. You know, they did verification. So they're ready for all that, but they're just so tired. They're like, I don't even want to look at another house.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that has to do with the, you know, the offers that are, you know, I don't know what, you know, what price range they're looking at, but all of that is like stuff that your realtor should help you determine. Like, you know, if it is in an area where people are offering over, well, then they're gonna have to tell you, you know, look for a house that's 20 grand less than what you're willing to pay because you're gonna have to go over that much. Like there's like little things that you have to consider that, you know, because you shouldn't be looking for 6 months or a year unless you're a very difficult person. But I mean, I don't think that's, you know, that's the case.
No.
So these people want houses, you know, they just need your help. And that's what, you know, as a realtor, you're that person for them.
Right,
They
right.
trust you to do those, help them with those decisions.
Lawanda,
Good.
I think that before we're finished here, I do think that you should you know, get that information and just give them, you know, Amanda's right, and you know, all information,
Definitely.
and have them call Amanda, and I'm sure that probably in less than 6 months
Yeah.
that
For sure.
happy that you went that extra mile to get them that information that's required so that Amanda will help them. Go, Amanda,
Yes.
get Amanda's, you know. But
Yes.
listen, this is good. So if you are discouraged, because I know some people who, as a matter of fact, I have a co-worker who said that when she was trying to get a property for her son, said, you know, okay, you know, I'm going to try and help you to get a property or what have you. And the realtor told her, don't even try because there's nothing out there.
Hmm.
No, seriously,
Wow.
don't even bother. There's nothing out there. And I'm like, really?
Wow.
That's what they told. So she stopped looking. She stopped looking. She said, okay, you know what? I'll just wait until the market cools off. And then, you know, because it was a condo for him because the son is in his 20s or early 30s or somewhere in there, and so she was just trying to help him, and especially because now the rates are you know, they're really good. So she was like, okay, you know, the rates are good, we can get something decent for him, for her son. And she said a realtor told her there's nothing out there, just to wait.
Well, maybe it was, do you know what the price range was or the location? Maybe that had to do with it.
Okay, but that could be something
That could,
too.
but she shouldn't say it like that. She should say, you know, this is, you know, that price range is difficult. Let's wait a year and see if, you know, things go down a little bit. Condos is a little difficult too, because most of them don't do FHA. So you have to have 20% down. And even the condos are not, you know, they're not dirt cheap anymore either. So, you know, but there's still good opportunity out there. You know, you can still get them. So I wouldn't tell my client, no, we can't do this.
I've seen
stop
condos.
looking, you know.
Condos are almost the same prices like you're purchasing a one family house. They're crazy. The prices are absolutely quick to me. But I wouldn't buy a condo because I don't like the HOA fees and all that. Yeah, let's talk about that. The HOA fees, the homeowners association fees. Why?
Well, because when you're buying a condo, you're doing that so you don't have to maintain the property. So it's easy for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I think, you know, I don't think it's a terrible idea because you don't have to take care of the lawn, you don't have to take care of the snow, you don't have to take care of the maintenance. If something breaks on the roof or something, that's on them, not you. So like that's why but you know, like you said, with the amount of HOA, yeah, it depends depends where you are and what they're offering. Do they have a pool? Do they have a gym? Or are they just charging you $400 for nothing for trimming the grass? Like, you know, do they have parking? All those type of things. So condos are not, and you can still find, you know, pretty decently priced condos, especially lower than a single family home right now, because they're, you know, those prices are rising. But that's the point of the HOAs is, you know, but if it's like an association that doesn't have anything, then yeah, it's like, what are you charging for? But yeah, that's, you know, it's maintenance basically. You don't have to take care of the property nearly as much as you do with a home.
Okay, so the homeowners association do now, because I've seen, I've heard where you have like, say for instance, the HOA fee is maybe you'll see it listed like when you know on Realtor.com or what have you, $26. Okay, $26. But I've heard where some people said, okay, you know, they'll increase it and it can go all the way up to whatever it is that they choose to. Do they have a cap on HOA?
I don't know if they have it. That's like a homeowners association question. I don't know if they have a cap, but they do have to tell you, you know, if it's being risen, you know, in the next year or whatever. And like a lot of them too, you'll see assessments on there because if the association is doing assessment, which means they're making improvements with the condominium association, that will be on there. And those, they have to tell you how long it's going to be and how much money you're putting in towards it. So everything has to be told to you. It has to be open, but how much they can raise it, I don't know. I mean, you assume each one is different, but probably just like, taxes and stuff, there's probably a limit as to how much they can raise it. And, it probably is affected, like, are they going to add a whole pool again, or a gym or something like that? Then that, I'm sure, controls how much they can raise it as well.
Oh, that's what that does. Okay, but I could cut my own grass.
Well, they don't let you, so it's not an option.
That would be good. That's not gonna work. You can't get out there with your own lawnmower. No.
Become a board member and try to.
Right.
I'm saving you some time. You don't have to cut your own grass real good for you. But I could grass and I could move my own snow.
And it's never a lot of grass or snow because it's, if it's a condo, it's not a lot of area there.
Yeah, thank you. So if you'll probably have a little patch, a little patch of grass. How much cutting is that? That will probably take us, with one up, one down. Why charge?
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Dawn, as you get older, you may appreciate having that. Because as you get older, you do not want, even if it's a little patch, you do not want to go outside mowing. You do not want to go outside cleaning up the snow. They may work out for, for older people.
I don't even want to do that now. So.
Right. See?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you don't do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the HOA has its ups and downs, like if you want a bigger house and whatever, it depends on your lifestyle too. Like if you're not, maybe you work like 12 hours a day and you don't have time to maintain a property. So the HOA is better for you. Maybe you want to be part of that smaller community. So, all your neighbors and you can just walk up and down the street, or maybe you want more space. So you're going to go out, like you were just saying before, out further, where the houses are more further apart and you have more space. So it really just, again, like I said before too, everybody has specific needs that they want. And like, as your realtor, that's my job to figure out what your specific needs are and help you find a home that meets those needs. Maybe you don't want, your neighbor right next to you or living in a condominium association, but maybe you do. Maybe it makes you feel safe. Maybe, who knows? People have all types of reasons for everything. So it really is, it's specific to each individual.
Amanda, I have this really nice question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know that you've probably seen a lot of houses, all types, and you've dealt with, some beautiful people. Mm-hmm. But what's the craziest thing you've seen, like when you go, shopping for a house with someone? Okay, I'm gonna give an example, and I was saying that before we got started, that we went in when I was, house shopping, many moons ago. It was where we went into this house and they were playing like this scary movie, like like this scary, and it was dark in there. It was dark. And the music was coming from upstairs. And the realtor and I will look at each other and we're like, ooh, it's time to get out of here because it sounded so spooky. I'm serious. It sounded so spooky, almost like you're in the Twilight Zone or something. What's the craziest that you've seen? Because I know that there's some properties out there. People live in very unique situations. Mm-hmm. I will be so nice to say it that way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you see, people have different types of lifestyles all the time. You'll see, I don't know, things set up differently. Some people are very spiritual and it looks like that when you walk in. It's dark and it's like, they have curtains over. The one house I went to see recently had curtains over the, what do you call it? The hutch. And I don't know why I didn't open the curtains because I didn't want to see what was behind there. Little things like that. But I do have a good listing story. When I had first started real estate a couple of years back, I had a partner and we had a listing in Little Falls. And it was, a nice house. They renovated. It was like 5-bedroom, whatever. And we had it listed like a good price and whatnot, but it was haunted. And we ended up backing out of it and not selling it because it was just like, we would close the door at night. And then the one day we came back and there was like it was like a cleaning product sprayed all over the basement. And I thought like, there's no way it's haunted. But then the one night we finished up with the owner, we had talked to him inside the house. We came out, we were in the driveway and the basement light went on. And I was like, I'm never going back here again. And then it was also I don't know if it was that night or another night that we were tying up things with the owner there. and that there's like a padlock he had on the back door, and it just started banging. Like, it was so scary. I'm not making this up either. It was very scary, and we couldn't sell the house. Like, there was always something that came up. So like eventually we gave up the listing. The guy redid it months later, or maybe it was a year later. But it was haunted. Yeah. And then that gets that trick. Like, do you tell people? I mean, you're supposed to tell them if you know, but then what if it's not really haunted and we're just losing our minds, I don't know, but but that was scary. And I never went back there. I told my listing partner, I was like, you know what, you just finish this one, because I'm not going back there. Yeah. Oh, and that one in the garage, they had another giant, it was a giant hutch thing. And on the back of it had like one of those, like devil worshiping star things. And I was like, oh no. And I ran into that because I was doing a showing with some clients, some buyers. I was the listing agent, but I was doing the showing with some buyers. And I brought them in there and I was like, oh my God. Like, I had never seen it before. So we were all scared. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was creepy. We didn't sell it. I never went back. So.
I guess not. Okay.
No.
I don't think you were rushing to go back there.
No. I was like, you know what? I don't need it. Forget it.
Exactly.
That is crazy. I mean,
That is.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
yeah, you see.
Ooh.
And the owner, he wasn't like the actual owner. He's someone who bought it and flipped it, and he was selling it again. He told us stories that like when he was in there, some of the doors would shut and like all kinds of crazy stuff. I didn't experience that, but I experienced the other stuff. So it was pretty creepy.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Just stay right where you are.
Yes.
Stay there, and I'll stay.
I'm gonna bring my sage now every time I go to list a house. It's just
Like, oh my goodness. Like, oh my God.
that was the only time something like that happened.
Right.
But now I'm always a little scared. I'm like,
Okay, you're on your P's and Q's, so to speak. You're like, okay, let me
feel this first,
Right. Like, oh, wait a minute. Did I just see that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I didn't see that. Okay. It's true. I'm sure it happens. I'm more than
Yeah,
positive.
I mean,
I'm sure. You hear people tell it, but I really believe it happens. I really do.
I didn't believe it happened until that, and I was like, oh my God.
It's like, I don't think we're coming back to see this house. Okay. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I like that.
Wow.
No, question. I have a question. What is, I don't know if I asked this question before, or I know that I asked what is a good time to purchase, and you answer that. But in this market, it's a good down payment, like say 20, because I know a lot of properties that's been listed, like when I look on Realtor.com and stuff, it has where they give you the 20% down. You know what I mean? They give you that 20% down. I know that, like you had said earlier, when the sellers are looking at, they look at the person who has maybe like a 5% compared to that 20% or what have you. And that looks better, of course, all around, right? Now, have you ever gotten to the place where someone is looking for like an investment property? And how does that work in reference to that down payment compared to like a first-time home buyer or someone who's purchasing maybe a house for the second time or what have you? How does that compare to that?
Okay, so again, that's more of lender knowledge, but from experience, when you're purchasing an investment home, you have to put more down. So I think it's for a second home, it's about 10%, an investment might be 20. It depends on whatever the rent roll is and whatever your own loan situation is, because I recently had a client, he had to put 25% down on a 2-family. That was, that's the lender chooses that, but it's sometimes it's more. But you can do, the 3.5% down, but again, in this market, no one's going to take that. But technically, if you're going to live in it and you're going to rent half of it out, you can do the 3.5% down. But if you also going to end up paying PMI insurance. So when you pay on a loan and you're not if you're paying 20%, if you're paying 19% or less, you're going to pay an extra insurance to the lender, and it's just money that they keep. So you want to try to get to that 20%. Yeah, it's something that I guess because they're basically insuring less than 20%. So if they say we were to foreclose, they're not going to get enough for the house. So you want to get to that 20% mark if you don't want to pay that extra insurance. But as an investment, they try to get you there already because it's an investment property. So with investments, you do have to pay a little bit more down. But again, that's something like specifically your lender has to go over with you and tell you how much you're going to have to put down.
Okay, that's a good one. I also this. I know I'm talking a lot. I know, but I have this where you know, one of the things we were talking about of how a if you're under contract and everything like that, what are the things that will disqualify you, or you can, you know, get out of it? Because once you're on a contract, you're basically you're in it, and you know, of course, you're looking towards closing and all that good stuff, right? But then what happens when you know you get an inspection, and that's the only time you can turn around and you can back out of that that contract because there's something wrong with that inspection. Now, what would you say to somebody who the inspection comes back and it's something that, you know, the seller would have to fix, but the seller did not do a good job? Do you want to ask them if they want to put monies at closing, if they want to do, like, say, for instance, that the seller will put like a seller's concession? Okay, I did not get this fixed, but I could give you maybe some of the funds to it. Do you have anything like that? Will they say, I'll give you some of the funds towards that, or I'll give you the funds towards closing so that you can take care of that? Or does it have to be a complete, you know, straight deal where you have to fix that before we go into closing?
No, so part of the negotiation after you get the inspection is whether you're going to ask them to repair it. You give them both options. You say either you can repair these things for me, or you can give me, and you have to give them a number, this amount of money, so I can repair it myself. And yeah, it's not like a check is handed to you to make these repairs. It goes towards your closing costs. So you'll have to bring less money to the closing table. So in the end, yes, you are getting money back. But yeah, that's, I just lost trains of thought. What was I talking about?
Come back.
I gotta go back. Yeah, so with the inspection, you can ask for a credit, or you can ask them to repair it. And you can have, you know, I've had clients who go and have to hire different inspections. Like, say the inspection came back with, because the general home inspector does a general home inspection. But if you want like something deeper, you have to hire an electrician. You have to hire, you know, an HVAC guy.
Right.
You have to hire someone for these specific things. So, you know, I have clients who do that, or like there's someone who checked the chimney, like, you know, these little things. Some who do that, and then you can negotiate from there as well, because you have the actual quote from that specific person. If it's something major, but like we said before, if it's like a broken window, or like, you know, the bedroom door is not there, or something like that, like no one's going to really, you know, make a big deal about those.
Right.
But if it's something major, like, you know, you didn't know that the roof was leaking, you want that, you more than likely you're going to want that repaired so that you know it's ready. Or if you do a tank sweep, which is something a lot of people do now just to make sure there's no tanks, that seller should remove that tank. And that could be costly too. It's like $1,200. But you want to do the tank sweep because you want to make sure that the soil is not contaminated either. So that's another big thing with inspections, is to get a separate tank sweep. And I think those are like $250 for the inspection. These are just estimates, of course. But to take it out is, you know, a little bit more expensive. So that's something you want the seller to do, because that too, back to the FHA loans, that will be something that they won't approve.
Exactly. That would explain. It's so funny because it would explain some things, because when we first looked at one of the houses that we had first looked at, the oil tank was in the ground. And we ran into so many obstacles. They didn't, they were like, that tank has to come out the ground. They were not going to give us the mortgage. They were determined that tank had to come out that ground. They didn't care. It wasn't even insurance coverage. Same thing. They wanted the tank out of the ground. They did not. So, long story short, the seller, you know, he did not want to pay for it to be taken off the ground. So you know what? We took it off the table. We took the offer off the table. We said, no, we're not going to do it because the realtor advised us I would not do it. If he is not going to take that off, and and I'm glad that that's what she, had explained to us, that no, I would never let you something like this, especially you're going in with problems. They're not even going to give you the mortgage, nor to less the insurance for it. So I know we did run into that problem, definitely because the oil tank was in the ground and he did not want to pay to have it taken out at all. Nope.
Yep. And he has to, because all the other lenders are going to have the same issue with that. So it's like, and then unless you want to take it out yourself, but it's like, wait, why won't he take it out then? Is there a bigger issue? Is there soil contaminated? So then it's like, all right, I'm just going to walk away from this. And you have the right at that point, because that's
what we did.
A big issue.
Yeah, we walked away. Yeah, exactly.
This is good. I love it.
This is good.
This is good. This was so much information, so informative. Amanda, I'm telling you, a wealth of knowledge. Appreciate you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yes, thank you.
I know that you guys out there, I knew you had your pen, I knew you had your papers. I know that you were writing these things down, because I was even taking notes myself. And I know that this was a great session. I knew that Amanda, I'm just loving this. This is so good. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. Thank you so much, Amanda, for this, coming on and sharing with us and giving us all of this wisdom, giving us all of this knowledge, giving us all of this information. Listen, you have got to get in touch with Amanda. Amanda, please tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you so that they can come on and Lawanda, get your neighbor, whoever those persons are, to get in touch with Amanda so that she is a special lady, she is good, she's caring, and she'll make sure that you get into that property that you so desire. So Amanda, in our exit, please tell the people how they can get in touch with you. Give them your information so that we can get them into that property. It's on you.
Sure. So my direct cell phone number is 201-456-1842. And you can text me or call me anytime, or if it's easier, you can email me, and that's just my name, which is Amanda and then my last name, which is T as in Tom, O-L, V as in Victor, E, and closes.com. So it's Amanda at TolveCloses.com. And the phone number again is 201-456-1842.
This is good. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Amanda Tolve. And I'm going to repeat this again. She said it twice, but I'm going to say it again because sometimes you may need to get it a third time. Her phone number is 201-456-1842. And I'm going to repeat that. It's 201-456-1842, and her email address is Amanda, that's AMANDA at, the at sign, Tolve, that's TOLVE, closes.com. You have all of the information. Please reach out to Amanda. She will get you into that home that you desire. She will. We know that she will. That's why she's on here, and that's why she spoke so eloquently to you. She gave you all that information. Trust me, you're going to love it, and you're going to tell your friends, you're going to tell your neighbors, you're going to tell everybody what Amanda has done for you. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Dree. Thank you so much, Lawanda. And again, thank you so much, Amanda, for your wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you. And we want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And until next time, for Just Us Girls, we say bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
working 9 to 5.